To all YouTube viewers, this video is related to video games. Now, I know that not everyone can relate to what goes on in this video, what my opinions are, because not everyone is the same age. If you don't think this is appropriate, just don't even put your comment down, because I don't feel like taking the time to remove it, because I hate having negative comments on my videos. They're stupid. They shouldn't be there. Now, if you have an opinion that relates to this topic that isn't, bashing me or bashing someone else, feel free to put it down. I'm going to talk about old video games and new video games. If you have no idea about any old video games because you're younger, you should probably just stop watching because you're not going to understand any of it. Let's get started. Some great games are Legend of Zelda, Mario, some of the old games, and I just don't think that it's going to sound stupid. It's going to sound really nerdy and geeky, but, I think a long time ago, games had more of a meaning. Like, companies had more of a meaning than just money to make video games. They wanted people to have fun, because Pong was originally created by these, not created, but, kind of made up by these guys in the military. One of their machines, I can't remember what it was called, they used it to make it was like a Pong machine they made it into. This guy was very good at technology. Later, a company published it, and after that, games like Pac-Man, put in arcades for a quarter a play, a lot of people just really thought that video games were made genuinely and thought was put into them, and that was true. But now you look at video games, like, not that they're bad, but like COD and, Gears of War and, all those games that are just Rainbow Six, all those games that are just shooting, and you look at them and you think, well, boy, they can't nearly have put as much effort as they put into the storylines and the characters of, Legend of Zelda. Now, some could argue that they're still good in their own way because they're shooters. But when you look at the gaming market, how many shooters do you see compared to non-shooters? A lot. So, when you think about it, you gotta think a lot of them are not original. You get a lot of cool things for shooters, like BioShock was cool. A new game coming out called Red Dead Redemption. The first one was pretty cool. The second one is looking really good. It's got a lot of new elements to it because it's not the same concept. I like what Nintendo's doing, but at the same time I don't. Nintendo is making video games that stick to their series, which is what they should be doing, but they're not spending enough time on them. They're not doing what they need to do. Now, Sony, I've always liked Sony, but a few things I have to bash on is, Sony, in the early days of the PS3, had a very small library, and that didn't get many sales. So, when, Xbox and the Wii, start selling more, especially the Wii was dominating sales, and I think still is. And when they start doing that, you gotta notice, you gotta think, you gotta get better titles out there. Another problem with PS3 is that it was very expensive. The price is a lot lower and reasonable now, but it was quite expensive for such a small library. And, a lot of people can't afford, a $600 game system. So they'd probably buy the Wii, or they'd buy the Xbox if they had, enough money. But, I personally have an Xbox and Wii. I don't play my Wii too much, but when I do play it, I play those good series that Nintendo has built on. So I think they should just stick with that, because they're putting out a lot of crappy games right now. It's not necessarily all their fault, because they're not involved in the production a lot of the times. Now, Microsoft. Xbox Live. The reason I pay for Xbox Live instead of playing Wii, or whatever it's called, I don't know what it's called, or PS3 Network, is because PS3 Network is very, It's free, but it's laggy. It's not lagless servers like for the most part like Xbox. Xbox has a party system. It's not good, but it works most of the time. And then you get to the games. PS3 has a lot of exclusives, so it makes a lot of people who want to buy a PS3, you know, buy it even more because they figure, oh well, I can't get the game on another console. Xbox has a lot of exclusives, but not as many now. The only few exclusives right now are Halo and Gears of War. I'll tell you right now, if Gears of War was on the PS3, I would sell my Xbox and all my games in a heartbeat and buy a PS3. Because all the other games I have besides Halo are for the PS3, and I'm terrible at Halo. Now to old school games. Think about it. First Zelda. It's a lot more. Oh, another thing, forgot. Games are a lot more challenging back then. They're not anymore. They get easy. The campaigns are easy. The storyline's easy. The bonus modes are easy compared to what it was before. You look at the first Zelda. You get nothing. You get nothing. You don't know. You don't get instruction. Or you can't get instructions. But if you I just got the cartridge from your friend and you're just borrowing it, you don't know what to do. You don't get instructions. You don't get a guide if you're not, purposely looking for one. It's challenging. It took me a while to figure out. I mean, eventually you get the works of it and you figure out where to go and what you got to do, with the lantern or the candle and a bunch of other stuff. And then you look at the Mario games and you think, oh, this is a totally different game than anything that's out now. When was the last time you saw a good game that did what Mario did that wasn't Mario? I mean, yeah, there's a few of them, but there's not a ton. Look at games like Metroid. Metroid was a great series. There's a bunch of games that have tried to imitate Metroid. A bunch of games that have succeeded, a bunch of games that have failed. So, I think back then, producing companies and console companies put a lot more thought into the games they made. And I think it was a lot better time for games back then. There were a lot more games that people liked, and a lot less games that people didn't like, because if you didn't like them, you didn't have to worry about it, because if you had the money to buy a system, chances are you had the money to buy a bunch of games. You didn't have to worry too much about it, because compared to now, the games didn't cost much. But it's kind of funny, and then people like Atari go out of business because they make bad games. And then now, people make bad games, but they just hype them up. So that way they at least make enough money so that if they do get returns, they can barely stay alive. And that's my rant on video games. It's not really a rant. That's my speech relating to video games. Thanks for watching.